Okay guys, I just want to take this moment to sort of ask you for some feedback, how everything's been going, how you like the lighting, how my videos have been. I know it's kind of been a bit lower quality than usual, so I want to know what kind of videos you guys want me to make, so I can hopefully make better videos in the future. So go ahead and leave some suggestions in the comments if you can, and that would make my life a whole lot easier. So let's go ahead and get started. Hello everybody, guys, Survivor, and today we're going to be taking a look at the geared mix-up. This puzzle is a successor to the gear cube, except it's also combined with a mix-up cube, so that the centers and edges can swap, allowing it to sort of act like a 2x2 with gears in the middle. That's the way I sort of see it. But this puzzle is widely regarded as one of the hardest puzzles in existence, and as such, I sort of figured that I could make a little walkthrough solve on the method that I currently use. Now, my method is derived from RedKB's method, which you can find on his algorithm video, which I will link to in the description. It's a really awesome video, and to be frank, if you wanted to learn to solve it in a bit higher quality and from a more popular YouTuber, you can go and watch that video, and that'll teach you pretty much everything you need to know on how to solve it. But he didn't actually do a walkthrough solve, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that so that you guys know exactly what you need to do with your geared mix-up cube in order to get it solved. So if you want to go ahead and check out the algs, go ahead and check them out at RedKB's channel. There are a few algorithms that you're going to need to know. I use a slightly different method because I use a slightly different UPerm. So my UPerm will be coming up on the screen right now for you to take a look at, so that you know exactly what I'm using, so that you can get the same effect, because my UPerm switches different edges and centers. So my UPerm switches these two and these two. So this edge and this center and this edge and this center get switched, resulting in this. However, in RedKB's method, or with his UPerm, I believe that it's something more like this, where these two get switched and these two get switched. So it's the same thing, really, just from a different perspective. So I do UPerm, just so you guys know, I do UPerm from the back. So I perform the algorithm like this, from this perspective. So I hold it with this in the back. So this is the this is the front for me. That's the algorithm that I use. Again, it will be coming on screen, so hopefully that'll help you out. Now, along with that, you're going to need to know how to rotate two edges 180 degrees. This is another algorithm that I got from RedKB. So if I'm not mistaken, it goes a lot like this. There we go, and then it rotates this edge and this edge, both of them 180 degrees, so these two edges. So, useful algorithm, and you're going to need it when solving, so I seem to have forgotten it already. There we go. Alright, so with that being said, let's just go ahead and scramble this thing, and we'll go through the walkthrough solve. Alright, so that should be sufficient. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the corners and solve the corners like a 2x2. So, again, this isn't a tutorial, this is just a walkthrough solve, so I'm not going to tell you how to solve a 2x2. But it's not hard. You can probably figure it out. If you can solve a 3x3, you can solve a 2x2. The hardest part about solving the 2x2 here is that the color scheme is weird, so you need to sort of be used to which colors are opposites. Alright. And there we go. So we have all of the corners solved. So now what we're going to want to do is use UPerm to solve the centers. So as I showed you, UPerm will switch this center, this and this edge, and it will switch this center and this edge. So if we were to switch these two, you would see that this is the blue center, and it would go where it belongs. So if I was to spam UPerm right now, it would put the it would put the blue edge in the right, the blue center in the right place. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go, the first center is solved. So now we're going to solve the next one. I see that the red is right next to where it needs to be. So we're going to position it so that we're going to position it in the back left so that it will switch with this. But you'll notice now that we have the blue center in front. And this is an issue because the U-perm will switch these two, which would fix the red center, but it also switches these two. And that would ruin the blue center because it would switch with this edge. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and use a setup move like that. So now it won't switch the blue center because the blue center is up here now. It will instead switch the yellow center, which isn't in the right place anyway, so it doesn't matter. So now if we perform U-perm, UA-perm, by the way, this isn't UB-perm, this is UA-perm. You'll see that we fixed the red center, but also when we undo the setup move, we have also preserved the blue center. So that's sort of the mindset that we have while solving all of these centers. But there's another trick that you should probably know, which is, for example, this is the green center, but it's in the white spot. Now, we could go ahead and position it so that we'll switch these two, and then we can position it again so that we'll switch these two, and that will be two moves in order to get it to where it belongs, because we can't just get it to where it belongs immediately because it's not close enough yet. So we could do that, but there's another trick that you could use, which is to, as I said, U-perm switches these two, this edge in the center, along with this edge in the center. So if we perform it right now, we'll go ahead and position it right here. So now we can perform the algorithm again from a different perspective. In order to get it in the right place. Sorry if this is rather confusing, I'm just trying to show you my thought process. So now we have the yellow center right here, and it belongs right here. So what I'm going to do is bring that down, put it in this perspective, and now what we can do is go ahead and perform a setup move so that we don't screw up the green center. After we perform U-perm, we'll undo that setup move, undo this setup move, that's the wrong way, and we have fixed the yellow center in one go. And now we have the white center, which I believe, nope, we have the orange center as well. The orange center we can actually fix quickly. Like I said, U-perm switches these two, along with these two. So if we perform it now, because this, this won't screw up any centers, we can just go ahead and perform U-perm to get the orange center in the right spot. And now we can take the white center, and the white center needs to go right here. So, how could we do this? Well, something that we could do, no, that wouldn't work. Alright, there's one thing that we could do. It's rather annoying though. You can position it back here and it would switch with the green center. That would screw up the green center, but the green center would only be one step away from being solved, and I won't screw up any other centers. So we'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll just reposition the green center when we're done. So there we go. Now the white center's right here. Now we can position that in the back. Go ahead and perform a setup move so that we don't screw up the red center. Do U-perm. Now it's right next to where it needs to belong, where it needs to go. So once again, we'll rotate it so it's right here. So those two will switch. Perform a setup move not to screw up the blue center. And there we go, now the white center is in the right place, and the green center is only one move away from being solved. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, once again, put it in the back left, perform a setup move, and then U-perm to get the center in the right spot, and now all the centers are solved. It's a bit confusing, but that's what I have for you. So now we need to worry about the edges. So first we're going to permute them, and then we're going to orient them, and with that the cube will be solved. So first, in Red KB's algorithm video, you saw that he did a 3 cycle, and we're going to do the same thing here. But we're gonna do a bit of a different method, which involves setup moves again, so that we can solve, hopefully, preferably, we'll solve 3 edges per go. But that won't always work out. So for now, we're just gonna settle to solve 1. So the 3 cycle that we're gonna perform is gonna switch this edge with this edge, this edge with this edge, and this edge with this edge. So this is gonna go here, this is gonna go here, and this is gonna go here. So that's what that's gonna do. So first, we'll go ahead and if we were to perform a 3 cycle here, we'd get this edge in the right spot. So that's 1 edge. That's good. That's progress. So we'll go ahead and do that. How you do the 3 cycle, you can find out in Red KB's video, which again is linked in the description. So there we go. That's in the right spot. And then now these 2 are screwed up, but they were already screwed up, so that doesn't matter as much. Let's see. What else can we do? So we can go ahead and 3 cycle these 2 to solve this one, and that won't screw up anything because these 2 edges aren't solved, and these are the 2 edges that it will be cycling with. So once again, I suppose I could just show you. In order to do a 3 cycle, what you're going to do is this is how you do the 3 cycle. Just do a setup move, like that, and then you'll go ahead and do U-perm. Now you'll do a full 360-degree twist into that's the 360-degree twist. I didn't mean to put it back out to the setup move. Perform U-perm again, and then just go ahead and rotate it around to solve the corners again. And as you can see, the 3 cycles complete. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna show you guys setup moves for the 3 cycle so that you can solve edges. Because right now, as we stand, none of the 3 cycles I do will solve any of the edges. So what we're gonna do is, I noticed that this is the orange-red edge piece, and it belongs right here. What I can do here is perform a U2, and now when I perform the 3 cycle, this edge will go right here, which is where it belongs, and it will cycle with this edge and this edge. Neither of those edges are solved, so we can do this without worrying about screwing up any of the edges. So we'll go ahead and perform a 3 cycle. Again, 3 cycle, how you do a 3 cycle is available on Red KB's video. And now you can see we've solved this edge. And we haven't screwed up any of the other edges, which is nice. That opened the possibility to go ahead and cycle these edges to solve them, so we'll go ahead and do that. Just doing the 3 cycle to solve 1 edge again. There we go. So if we cycle these 3 edges twice, then this edge will be in the solved position, which is good. So solving another edge, again doing this just with the 3 cycle. There we go. So now we need to do it one more time. Alright, so now we've solved that edge. So now we can switch these 3 edges to solve this one using the 3 cycle. Alright, so now we can use a setup move, being back 2, in order to move into position the blue-red slot, so that the blue-red edge can recycle into it. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go, so now we've solved the blue-red edge. Sorry about this sort of random cut, but my camera was bad and it actually deleted the segment where I explained what you do when you have the last 3 edges that need to be swapped. So I'm just going to do a little follow-up on it right now. So what you can do when you have only 3 edges that need to switch, when you're down to your last 3 edges, which will happen if you're using this method, when you're down to the last 3 edges, you could do a few things. You could cycle these over and over until eventually you get a combination that can be solved using just a 3 cycle. Which you could do, but that takes a really long time, and sometimes it actually won't happen. It's much easier to actually just use setup moves. So as you can see, we have this edge, and this edge that need to cycle. So these three edges need to switch with each other in order to be solved. But the issue is that the 3 cycle switches this edge, and this edge. But these 3 edges need to switch, not these 3. So what we're going to do is use a setup move to put this edge here, but at the same time not move either of these edges. So we can't just go like this to move it here, because that does move it here, but it also screws up this edge. So now it will go between, the 3 cycle will cycle between this center, this edge, and this edge, which we don't want. We want it to cycle between this edge, and this edge. So we're going to move this edge right here. Now we need to move this edge back, but if we move it back, it will move that edge back. So what we're going to do is move this over here, move it down so it's out of the way, move this edge back, and then bring this edge back up. And now we can go ahead and cycle between the edges. Now the cube looks all screwed up, and it's going to look like that because it is really screwed up. But after we cycle, we'll undo the setup moves, and that will put it back the way it was. So first we need to cycle it right here, so we're just going to do the same old cycle. Alright, so now we actually need to cycle again because the edges need to be cycled twice this time around. It won't always be like that, but it is this time. So we'll go ahead and cycle the edges again. There we go, the edges have been cycled. So now we're going to undo the setup moves. So we're going to undo that, this, that, and now we'll undo this move. And as you can see, we have swapped all the edges back. But this cube is solved, but this is a follow-up. And the cube won't be solved yet after we've done that. So I'll go ahead and cut back to the main video now. And all the edges have been permuted. So it's a bit complicated. Again, a lot of this is intuitive, which is why I'm sort of not making a full-scale tutorial. But hopefully what I did there just showed you what you need to do. For the most part, when it comes to those last 3 edges setup moves, typically you just go ahead and move the edge where it needs to be, and then fix whatever it is you disrupted. That's typically the best mindset to go with. So now the last thing we need to do is orient the edges. These edges that are sort of shape-shifty, those are going to cause us some issues. They're rather complicated to work with. But we can go ahead and solve these guys relatively easily. So setup move to get these 2 in these 2 positions. As I said at the beginning of the video, we can perform this algorithm to solve them. There we go. So now as you can see, they're solved. Now we have one of them, and if we flip 2 edges, we have a problem because this one would be solved, but then one wouldn't. So you would think that's impossible. It is actually possible to just rotate one. Red KB shows this in his video, but I'm a lazy human being, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shape-shifty edge, because these sort of off-axis edges, they can be solved. They can be solved one by one. I could solve this one by one using the same method as I would with this, but it would take longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this 180 degrees and also rotate this 180 degrees, and then I'll just fix this one later, because even if I flip this 180 degrees, it will be the same amount of work as if I didn't. So it doesn't really matter in that case. We'll just go ahead and spam the algorithm. There we go. So now we have all of the edges solved except for these 3. Now, sadly, these ones have to be dealt with one by one. There's nothing we can do about that. And the way we deal with them is relatively simple. So we're going to use Uprim again, but this time we're not going to use a setup move because what we're going to want to do first is isolate one of these edges, as Red KB puts it, and then we can go ahead and rotate it freely and then put it back. So we're going to work with this edge first. We're going to notate that this needs to be rotated clockwise. It's important that we remember that. And then we're just going to go ahead and spam Uprim. Uprim complete. Now we'll do a full 360 degree twist. Perform Uprim again. 360-degree twist after that. And now, as you can see, we've 3-cycled with this center, and this edge. So now we have this edge, and we can play around with it as we please. So we want to rotate it counterclockwise, so I'll rotate this face counterclockwise, we'll rotate this face clockwise because we want to twist it clockwise. We'll then cube rotate over here, and then we'll go ahead and rotate this face clockwise as well. Nope, sorry. We're going to go ahead and rotate this face until this center that is bad. We want this center, this disrupted center, needs to be up here. So we're going to go ahead and rotate the cube until it gets up there. There we go. That's where we need it to be. And now we can go ahead and perform the same thing that we just did right then, which is U-perm, 360-degree twist, U-perm again, 360-degree twist. We'll undo the setup move. And as you can see, we have solved the blue-red edge piece. So we're going to do the same with the green-red edge piece. This one needs to be rotated clockwise as well. So, same thing, U-perm, 360, U-perm, 360. There we go, 360. Now we'll rotate it clockwise, turn this around, get the bad center in the correct position, which is right here again. And then we'll go ahead, U-perm, and then undo the setup move. And now we have one final edge to work with, and this one needs to be rotated counterclockwise. So, same old, we're gonna do U-perm, 360, U-perm again, 360, but this time, now that we have the edge isolated, we're gonna rotate it counterclockwise, and this is because it needs to be rotated counterclockwise as opposed to clockwise. We'll move this over here, and the good thing about when you're rotating it counterclockwise, you can simply do that, do an F, and now as you can see we have the center already in the right place. Instead of having to do it multiple times, we can just do F. And now, we'll go ahead and perform U-perm, 360, U-perm, 360, and the cube is solved. Now I know that was a rather rickety walkthrough solve. I know it didn't necessarily make all that much sense, but I did the best I can. I'm not very good at explaining how to solve puzzles, which is why I don't try to explain how to solve puzzles. But this is a very difficult puzzle, and I thought that someone needed to elaborate on it. I know there are some tutorials online, but I just figured I'd go ahead and give my shot at it. So that's a walkthrough solve of the gear mix-up. I do hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out my channel along with all my friends' channels. Links to those will be in the description. I don't link to my channel, actually. My channel will just be somewhere, wherever the clicky thing is nowadays. You can go ahead and check that out. And I don't know if you can still buy these, but I will go ahead and link to Mefferts in the description if you want to pick up one of these as well. Thank you all for watching once again, and until next time, I'm Growth385. Sayonara. Look at my awesome lighting setup, by the way. You like that? It's a light covered in paper towels. Special thanks to Origami Tenzu for telling me to do that.